Hi guys, and welcome to my 15 high-end Dollar Tree DIYs. Hope you enjoy them. So the materials that I will be using, a wreath that came from Dollarama several years ago. I am not quite sure how much it cost. I'm sure it was under $4. Then I had picked up these picks, picked up some of these antlers. I had this holly berry garland that I might use as well, and then I have some dry eucalyptus and some dry magnolia leaves that I'm certain I will be using, knowing which way I want this wreath to go. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm preheating my glue gun in case if I decide I need to use it. But the first thing that I'm doing is I am going to separate this garland, and I will be putting this garland in my family room above my big fireplace, and the color theme for that room is very traditional. Okay, I'm going to adjust it as it needs it. So my thoughts are that I will be putting some of these dry branches inside of it. And then I'm going to try and fit these in. Then I'm just going in with these smaller ones and just kind of putting them in where I see fit. Just play around with it. If you're not certain, then I would suggest don't hot glue everything until you have it where you want it. That's what I did with my fall wreath. I just kind of place things first, and then I hot glue them after. With this one, I'm living on the wild side, and I'm just putting stuff in. I just wanted it to look very natural, so that's what I'm doing. I'm still not certain how I'm gonna use these. I'm thinking maybe I will take a couple of them apart completely. Okay, I do love the way this one is looking. I'm not sure that I'm going to be adding these antlers. I just think that it might be, maybe it won't be too much. Let me just see. Maybe I won't attach them. I will just put them on, and then if it's not working for me, then I will just take them off. I will be making a stocking stuffer hanger type of thing, and for this I am using two I think they're fence boards that I had attached together, and then I have cut out these. You can cut these out with your Cricut machine, and I'm just using them as stencils. And then I'm gonna be using the Annie Sloan Emperor Silk paint, linen white by Rust-Oleum, and I haven't 100% decided whether I'm gonna use the cocoa bean or not. Haven't quite figured out the technique that I'm gonna use for putting these guys on. And also I went out and I had purchased a wooden door pulls, and I got 4 of those. And then you're going to need a paintbrush, some sort of a cup, and some sort of a tray for your paint. The paintbrush that I'm using came from Dollarama, and it was actually quite a good deal. 5 of them, no, 2, how many were in here? 1, 2, 3, 4, yeah, 5 of them for $2. So I thought that was a pretty good deal. So without further ado, I'm going to get started. First thing that I'm going to be doing is I am going to be painting my dowels, and I'm using this cup and paint to do that. I hope this works. We shall see. It's going to be messy, I know that. Oh, that will work. So I just attached a pen to it, and then I'm going to, oh, I hope this works. Maybe not. Maybe I'm not going to. But I would like to cover it up. I think this paint's going to need a little bit of water to thin it out. That's the nice thing about chalk paint. If it gets to be too thick, because I haven't used that paint in a long time, you can just add water to it, and it will water it down a bit. So I'm going to let these dry, and I'm putting down the end that I'm screwing on, so the narrower end, so that way if the paint doesn't stick to that end, it's okay. Okay, so I'll let those dry, and make sure you don't lose the screws from them, so you can screw it on after. Alright, I'm going to attach my mousse. Now when you apply your paint, the white paint, because I want it to be kind of rustic looking, I am going to do more of a dry brush technique, which means you want to not have too much paint on your brush, so then a lot of the other stuff shows through. And when I'm gonna go around here, I'm just gonna kind of dab it. I'm going to lift these up and hope for the best. Oh, that turned out really good. That one did. And that one did too. Love it. Okay. I really like the way that looks. And then once the paint dries, which is not gonna take very long, I'm just gonna do a write-up over here. And I think I might use my permanent markers for that, just because sometimes I don't do very well with writing so thinly. Okay, so that's done. And then once my knobs dry, I will be screwing them in. So here is what I'm using. I had picked up the Merry Christmas sign from Dollar Tree. This came, I think, from Dollar Tree as well. I bought it last year. And then I'm also using my spray can. And the mat came from Home Depot. So I'm going to try and spray it evenly. I have removed the stencils. I'm going to add a little bit of paint to it. Going to add a couple snowflakes using the stencil from Dollar Tree. And some white acrylic paint. I am creating a Christmas tree out of burlap. Now I got this burlap ribbon from burlap.com and I will leave a link down below. This is not a sponsored video, but however they did send me this to try out and create stuff with, so that is what I'm doing. I wanted to get one of those styrofoam cones or a paper mache cone, but the Dollar Tree didn't have any, Dollarama didn't have any, so I'm improvising and I hope it works. I picked up this ball, I think it's a bowling pin, no, it's a baseball bat and ball. I guess I should have known that. And I'm going to try and use this, and I'm hoping that it works. So, and I'm also going to use some hot glue, and then I have just a couple things to maybe use to embellish the Christmas. So first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to just measure how much I need and cut it. And I'm actually going to use pretty much the same size of strip for the whole thing. I'm just going to cut several of them. If you haven't checked out burlap.com, you guys should. They're reasonably priced. They have some great items there. I have gotten some placemats. If you love that rustic look, I have gotten table runners, beach bag, and like I said, they're really well priced.
Time of year, come on up, come on in, get together for a good time, smile my dear.
So I think I have cut up enough, and what I'm going to do is fold it in half, and I'm going to hot glue it right here.
We know the time is short, we blink and then
I've been working on DIYs all morning, so my fingers are all painted, and I still don't have a finger protector for this, because I know if I buy it, I'm not gonna ever find it.
and it's all too late.
Then I'm going to hot glue it. Just want to make sure that the green's not showing around. Flapping over.
We blink and then it's gone.
So I'm going to repeat the process again.
So take your neighbor by the hand and join the dance parade.
And now when I'm attaching this one, I'm going to overlap about half of it.
Come on in, come on up, come on over. It's the friendliest time of year. Come on up, come on in, nothing better than to give the gift of cheer. So come on in, come on up, come on over. We'll be singing all them songs.
Okay, so this is what it looks like.
Just like 1, 2, 3.
So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hot glue a whole bunch of these. Now I'm going to continue, and I don't want to start it at the same spot where I started the other one, because I just don't want it to have the same overlap going everywhere.
Just like 1, 2, 3.
Now I'm going to pinch it in a couple areas. Not too much yet, because I still haven't gotten to the, maybe not yet. Actually, I might go straight still because it's still not long enough. But once you get into the narrower part, then you want to give it a little pinch so that way it looks almost like ruffled. And you always want to make sure that the folded end is on the bottom. So you can see the little ruffles. I'm thinking I might just pre-glue them here. So now that it's all wrapped up, next step that I'm gonna do is I'm going to cut little slits in here.
Presented opportunity to work on my patience, but now the years passed and I don't have to wait no more. It's Christmas Day.
And kind of try and separate, fluff them up a little bit, and then in the middle of the other ones I'll cut these. So again, you're not following a pattern.
I'm sneaking down the stairs to where our tree is at, to see what Santa Claus has brought.
So there it is. I think that looks really pretty. I don't know if the camera does it justice. And now for the top part, I'm going to, I was thinking about adding a ribbon. I have made this ribbon, I think I have a short tutorial on how I made this ribbon. I'll see if I can find it. If I do, I will share it in my description box.
Snailing by, slower than ever before. Presented opportunity to work on my patience.
For this project, you will need some form of gray paint. I am using any Sloan Paris gray. It's chalk paint. Then I had picked these up at Dollar Tree a while back. and they're just 3 little planters. Then you're gonna need some rope, some form of a rope, and white paint, a paintbrush, something for sponging white paint on, and hot glue. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm going to paint my pots with gray paint, and I'm going to let them dry. You could probably do this with some spray paint as well. It probably would be a little bit faster. 1 coat will be enough.
Can't forget about the one with the red nose. When I fly.
So the color on these bells dried a little bit lighter than what I originally would have liked. So I'm going to actually add some black and white acrylic paint. And the look that I'm going for is more of a forged metal look. So I'm going to dip in black and in white, and then I'm just going to go over it. I'm actually going to use my stenciling brush. It just might go a bit faster. Okay, so I'm going to let this dry and repeat the same process on these ones, on the other one. And you don't want them to look identical. And it's okay if some of the gray underneath shows. That's the whole point of painting it gray, not leaving it green. So I'm going to let those dry, and there's one more step to them. So I cut up 3 pieces of rope, and I'm going to hot glue each to the top. I'll let these dry. For my next project, I am using some of this twine that I've had. I bought this at Dollarama many years ago and never ended up using it, and I had come up with a pretty, I think, pretty great little project, a little DIY, but I can't find my garden shears. I think my mother-in-law steals them from me. So I'm going to just separate it, and this will kind of make me figure out what size I want this, what I'm making to be. So I'm just going to use these shears to cut it. Okay. So I think this is going to be the size, and I'm just going to build on it a little bit. So I'm just taking out the thickest pieces, and to be honest with you, if I didn't find this in my craft stash, I probably would have gone into my garden and just cut up the little branches, so you don't have to have this. Okay, so I think you get an idea what I'm making here. Okay, so I'm going to hot glue the, okay, so now I'm going to hot glue these just on the edges. I want to be fairly generous with the glue so it doesn't come apart on you, and the glue's not going to show because you'll see why. And any points you can add a little bits to, just so it stays down better. You don't want to bend it so it glues down. Just where it's naturally sitting, you want to add a little bit of glue. And now I'm going to build on it. So I'm just going to cut up a couple branches, and these can be different thicknesses. They don't need to be the same thickness. This is what's gonna make it a little bit more nicer. Okay, I think I'm gonna do one more layer. Okay, so I'm going to let that dry. I think this top one should be okay. I'm going to tie up this rope.
Now I know.
I'm just going to put a dab of glue here. And then I'm going to wrap it around. And just put another dab of glue. Just put that there. And now I'm going to repeat that for all the other angles.
That's what Christmas.
Okay, so this is done. Going to be making a super fun project. I think it is anyways, using a stencil that I just cut out from Cricut. Now you don't, I always say you don't need to use a stencil. It definitely makes a project go a lot smoother, but I will link the website where I got the free SVG for this, and I just cut it up, resized it and cut it on an old file folder. That way if I want to reuse it for anything else, I can. It's just a little bit more I guess reusable than vinyl. Vinyl probably works better because it sticks to the surface, so you just have to be a little bit more careful with this one when you are stenciling. So I will take apart the stencil in a minute, but let me just go and let you know what else I'm using. So I have this wrapping paper that I picked up at dollar store, and it looks like butcher paper. And then I have some old toilet paper rolls and a paper towel roll, hot glue gun, black paint, and a stenciling brush, a knife, crafting knife for your stencil if you need it, and scissors to cut the butcher paper if I need. Well, I definitely need to. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to take apart my stencil.
We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing? In Christmas times, we'll be chilling and having a good time. Doesn't matter if the snow is falling.
Now I'm going to cut my paper to size, and I'm just going to cut it and make it a little shorter so it's not as wide.
Hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing? In Christmas times, we'll be chilling.
So I'm going to take my rolls now, and I'm going to glue them just to keep form. I'm gonna use 2 here and then one whole one on top. To secure it so it doesn't unroll, I'm just going to put some hot glue there and there, so that way it holds it in place. And I'm going to do the same on the bottom.
I can promise Santa's coming to visit. No, he wouldn't miss this in Christmas times. Oh, and the sun said it is just getting.
And now I'm going to place my stencil right in the middle. Just going to and I'm just lightly taping it down. I'm not pressing on the tape because I don't want it to damage the paper. Now, careful with not too much paint. I'm going to sponge it on. And the stencil brush I'm using is from the Dollar Tree. Dip it and then take as much paint off as possible so I don't have too much paint on it.
Have a good time, dance and dance all night long. We're gonna dance and dance and have a good time. I think Santa's gonna come and join us in this song. Doesn't matter if the snow is falling or the windows in the rain is pouring.
All right, and now for the reveal. Oh, I love it. I love it. Now I just have to fill in where the tape was.
Hang out with my friends and family, making angels in the sand. You and me. Doesn't matter, it's Christmas in my heart.
Okay. So that's that. And now I'm going to I wanted to put an arrow here as well. If you see on the design there was an arrow, I just didn't cut it out because I figured I can probably do one myself.
We can hang out on the beach without freezing. Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Okay. There, and now once it dries, I'm going to add a rope, which I forgot to show you. I'm just gonna grab it. So this is like a nautical rope or jute rope. And I'm just going to cut it to size. And I'm also going to make this a little bit shorter. There. There we go. And the nice thing about having that little hole there is I can thread my rope through it.
We'll be chilling.
I'm going to take this long piece of wood and just push the rope through. Tie a loop, and I'll show you what it looks all hung up. The first thing that I'm going to be making is a sign. I love Christmas signs, and I especially love farm fresh Christmas tree signs. I don't know if you've noticed that if you watch my channel. But this one is very simple to make, and I wanted to share something that anybody could make. That you don't need some special supplies besides the printer. So I had picked up this 11 by 16 frame from Dollar Tree, and it does have glass. I just cleaned it and it's drying. So I took the glass off because I'm going to be just adding a little bit of paint to make it look a little bit more rustic than just brown. And for that, I'm just using acrylic paint and a brush. And then I had print out this Farm Fresh Christmas tree sign off the internet. Now, this is not a design that's just out there. I just pretty much found an image and copied it and printed it. But you can find tons of different free printables. I can include some of them down in the description box. And then I also pre-cut a piece of poster board to fit inside, to fit inside the frame. So, and then you're also going to need Mod Podge. I'm going to do a dry brushing technique. If you're not familiar with what that is you take a paint and then you need a rag, and then you take some of that paint off so your paintbrush is not very saturated, and then you brush the paint on, because I'm not trying to cover the frame completely. I do want some of that brown to show through.
Christmas lights are all around. I can see.
This won't take long to dry because I am dry brushing it, and I'm brushing it lightly, so it's not gonna take too much at all to dry. These signs can be quite expensive. I'm sure they're better quality than a Dollar Tree frame, but I just, because I like to change out my decor so often, I am on a tight budget, so I like creating all of these, as many as I can myself. Okay, so that's done. I'm going to let it dry completely before I do anything else with it. Now moving on to my frame and my printable, my poster board and my printable. So I got my Mod Podge, and I'm going to take a brush. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to glue this on, and I'm going to try and center it as much as possible. I'm going to eyeball it, but you can definitely use a ruler.
It's like they spell your name. It's insane. Now we're back here once again. Holidays and cheer.
There we go. I think that's pretty good. And now I just want to make sure it matches so you don't see the difference that easily. I was gonna use my greenish pencil, but I'm gonna go with a pencil.
Now I got my eye set on you. I'm not gonna play.
So I think that looks pretty good. It does look like it's one piece. So now I'm going to Mod Podge the rest of it.
It's going down on Christmas Day. 'Cause I've been trying to tell you in every way. Yeah, I've been trying to show you.
So I'm going to let this dry completely before I move on to putting it in the frame. Now I'm going to put my glass in.
I wanna have someone to hold. Walking through the place.
There we go. And this, it's curled up, so it's a good thing that I am putting it in. And what you can do is you can also put a little tiny piece of tape, which I might do, just so it keeps it in place a little bit better. Thinking I'm gonna put one more piece that it's a little bit more, so it's a little bit more solid at the back.
Always got you on my mind, but I know this time.
Now, if you have the backing for this, you totally don't have to do this part, but I do not have the backing for it, so that's why I was taping it. And here we go. So for this project, I picked up this Betty Crocker cake board at Dollarama. Now I know that Dollar Tree carries not maybe Betty Crocker, but ones like this. This is the 12-inch one, which works, but if you want to have a bit more space, I would suggest picking up a bit bigger one. Around pizza, those plates they have at Dollar Tree would work as well. Then I picked up a wood shelf liner, the wood look shelf liner at Dollar Tree, and this Merry and Bright sign. And then you're gonna also need hot glue, and I am using Christmas red and green red and some white acrylic paint as well. And then I'm not sure whether I'm gonna use ribbon. I'll kind of decide as I go. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is I am going to attach the shelf liner to my the cake board. Also, what would work too, if you found one of those round cutting boards that are already wood, or even plastic would work. So I'm going to cut this to size, well, to somewhat of a size.
Only you and me. I'll be making plans, make you understand.
I'm cutting it a bit bigger just in case.
I'm not gonna play it safe. It's going down on Christmas Day. 'Cause I've been trying to tell you in every way. Yeah, I've been trying to show you, but somehow felt I wanna have someone to hold.
And just doing it slowly definitely works better than rushing. I'm just folding this here just so it's kind of keeps it in place while I smooth it out. And I'm going to cut it. Thought I could fold it in, but I think cutting it would be probably.
Waiting for so long for you, but now I got it planned, I know.
Nice and smooth. Now the next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm going to paint my Merry and Bright.
What to do? 'Cause I've been trying to tell you in every way. Yeah, I've been trying to show you, but somehow felt I wanna have someone to hold. Walking through the falling snow. I've been trying to tell you in every way.
Okay. And now the bottom I'm going to paint with green. Ooh, almost dipped it in red. And now the middle I'm going to use white paint. So that's done. I'm going to let it dry before I glue it onto the sign. So here it is, and I have actually decided to glue some twine on the edging just to make it a little bit more cleaner. think that had cleaned it up a little bit. Just so you can see it a little closer. And now for my merry and bright sign. I was playing around with it a little bit just so it fits a little bit better. So there we go. So I'm going to put hot glue on it. There we go. The supplies that I'm using is a piece of cardboard and a tissue box, 2 of these trucks that I got from Dollar Tree, and a buffalo check bag from Dollar Tree, some popsicle sticks. These are the ones I had at home, so I didn't go out and buy any, so I'll be painting them. Some wood letters, so you'll need hot glue, and then I'm going to use Christmas red, some brown, white. I'm not sure whether I'll do green as well, but if I do green, it will be the Christmas green. And then I also need some Mod Podge. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to assemble my work on my. So I'm going to first I'm going to remove the little tag. And then I'm going to remove carefully without breaking it. There, so the bottom did break, but that's alright, because I'm not 100% sure that I will still use that, but if I do, I don't think you're gonna be able to see that. And there's that one. I'm not gonna worry about getting rid of this. However, if you can see, these are kind of glued on crooked, so I'm going to pop them off. So there, so the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to make like a little stencil to here. So I'm going to cut off a piece here, so just probably one side, and the other side I will use for a different project. Okay, so I'm going to tray this on, and I don't want to waste too much, so I'm gonna go as close to the edges as possible. So I'm gonna cut 2 like that, and right where the tires, I'm just gonna go straight. Okay, so I'm going to, oh come on. So, rookie mistake. I did it on the other side where I should have traced it on like this. So much for me saving paper. So I will save those that I cut out, and I'm going to trace these again. Best to cut it. And you want both of them to face, so like this. There we go. If you're gonna cut them together, put this on. Going to try and use my craft knife instead, because from what I remember it worked pretty well last time I used the bag. So the next step is to glue this on, but first I'm going to cut up the tires, but you want this to be perfect before you do that. And I'm just going as close as possible. I'm going to apply Mod Podge. And I'm also going to just do a couple dabs of glue just on the little edges, just so it keeps it in place while I'm working on it. Just a very light coat of it. I'm not putting big globs. Okay, a couple areas I just have to trim off a little bit. Just going to let this dry for a little bit before I apply another coat of Mod Podge on top. While that's drying, I'm going to work on my other truck. Okay, so now I'm going to put a top layer of Mod Podge on these. And because I'm using matte, it'll also help with the shininess of the bag. So while these are drying, I am going to assemble my truck, and I'm going to hot glue it here, starting at this point. So I don't know if you can see, but it would be this point right here. You can also use Gorilla Glue if you want, or E6000 if you want it to stay put better, but I think I'm okay. Just in case if I have to take it apart. So I just want to say, pause here for a little bit, that I had made another mistake which I realized. And that was that I had glued the bag to a wrong side of the trunk in order for them to both face the same way. I should have done it on the side that wasn't painted. So I just used the first cutout that I did because it fit right on. But because I had to now paint the wheels and all that stuff, I popped the little rims and glued them back on the other side of the truck. If this project didn't turn out as good as it did, I probably would have given up, but I had faith that it was gonna look as good as it did end up looking. Alright, so not sure what happened there. So I had put these here, over there, and then I had cut out the tires. Not sure what happened. I am not having the best day for recording today, apparently, or for crafting. So see, I cut it out, used that as a stencil to cut it out. Okay, so there we go. And now I'm going to use the hot glue to put these on. Okay, now I'm going to build my truck. So for the top, this is why I had gotten this cardboard. I thought it would be kind of neat to put like just a little thing here, and then over the top. So I'm just going to cut a bit of a better piece for fitting. And I'm going to put it on the inside to put hot glue on the edges and squeeze it in. There we go. I found another boo-boo that I did. Alright, so I'm going to take this off. Let's see if I can. Holy smokes. Alright. Maybe some of you don't want to watch the process of me making all these mistakes. I think this is on permanently now. There we go. Just don't want to break the box. Alright, so you want to glue it as close to the edge as possible. So hopefully using this little rounded part as your guide. There, that's probably the best thing, and then gluing it to the bottom, closest to the bottom as possible. I think that would probably be the best. Alright, so I'm going to use this as a guide. There, and then I'm going to put hot glue onto the box. I think that's a better way. I think that's good. There. Okay, and then this still goes back to the same spot that was at. There, and probably would want to flip the box around. I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna cut a piece of cardboard and stick it on there because I've had enough cutting, so I'm just gonna do that. Enough repairing, so I'm just gonna do that. But you'd want to turn it upside down so you have a more of a solid surface. So that goes there, and then I'm going to cut another piece for this side. So hopefully all these mistakes that I'm making will show you that, you know, the right way of doing it. Just watch the video fully before you venture out on making this yourself. But you know, it happens. It's just the way it is. It happens, and we just move on. Do the best we can. I'm pretty sure I cut one of these already. Okay. And before I go ahead and paint it, I'm going to put one thing at the back. For here, this is where the popsicle sticks go, and because I'm going to be painting it, it really doesn't matter what color. So I'm just going to use some of my orange because I'm not most likely won't be using those. And I just want to make like a little gate almost on it. I'm going to cut this one in about a half and then hot glue it about here. Just make sure you hot glue it wide enough. So if I put that like there, you want that to go about here. I'm just eyeballing the half. I still haven't applied the Mod Podge on that one, so while that's drying, because I don't want to put the other part on it until it's completely dry so it doesn't weigh it down, I'm going to just Mod Podge my top so that way that has enough time to dry when I'm moving on to my very last step. I'm pretty sure that's gonna be my last step. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry, and now I'm going to put these, I'm going to put them on the outside, I think, like that. I think you're better off putting them directly onto the sticks that are already glued, so that way you know exactly where you're. So while that's drying, should I go all the way around with the same thing down? Maybe it's a match. So I'm gonna go down and then here, and then I think the middle I'm not, and then I'm gonna do more on top. Then I think I'm going to put this just on the bottom so that way it covers up the blue. And then one more at the back. So here is the truck all wrapped up, and now I'm going to paint the tires. So it's white and black. I'm going to repeat the same thing over here. I'm going to try and make it as close as possible. I'm going to go with black first. I am also going to paint this part black, like where the window is. So there. And then paint these things with brown. This one settled a little bit, so it's very watery on top. So that's done as well. And now what I wanted to do, I'm just trying to think whether I'm better off painting the letters first or if I'm better off gluing the letters first. So let me just think about that for a minute. So I think I'm going to paint this white, and I'm going to paint my letters white. Or should I paint them green? I'm really conflicted. Or maybe I'll do one side on one color and the other side in the other color. But the problem is I have no idea what I do with my letters. Oh, there they are. Alright, so I'm going to paint them first. That I know for sure. So I've got... So that way it'll dry fairly quick. I think it'll pop out real nice on the buffalo. I think white would have been fine too. Maybe I should have done one side one color and the other side the other. Oh, I don't know. Decisions. Let me know down in the comment. What would you have, which color would you have picked? I don't think red would have looked good. Maybe black, but I'm not sure. I had to make an R because I didn't have an R. So this R looks a little funny. Okay, so I'm gonna let that dry, and I'm going to, while that's drying, I'm gonna paint the wheels. Finish with the wheels. And I'm just going to position this just so I know where I want it. Who keeps track of every girl and boy? So that's good. Now you can also put some lights on. I'm just gonna leave it for now, and then you can put these trees back in like that, which I think would look just fine. Or you can put like an actual tree on there. I'm going to put these back just because I have them. I want to use them. The whole world knows it well. There we go. Well, I'm going to show you what it looks like with already cut out this design. I had went on my Cricut design space, and out of my Cricut Access I had picked out the deer head. I flipped it so it's facing that way, and then I cut it out. This cardboard comes from the back of the one of those tabletop desktop calendars from my old one, and I have saved it. I was actually using it to spray paint some stuff on the other side, but it was time to use it for some crafting. So I had cut out the deer head. Now I'm going to use the deer head for a different project. And then I also have a back of an old picture frame, and I cut this cardboard to fit the back of the picture frame. So that's gonna go over here like that. But before, if you saw my projects last week, I have used some of this bag. I will be using it again, and I will be placing it at the on here with some hot glue and Mod Podge. And then for framing, I will be using some of these garden stakes that I got through the summer, and I have some of them left over still. I'm not going to be staining them. I'm going to use them as they are. First thing that I'm going to do before I do anything is I'm going to give this guy a very light coat of white acrylic paint. I'm going to use a this type of brush, not a sponge brush, because I find it'll just give me the more of a texture that I'm looking for. And I'm just taking some of the paint off and just brushing it lightly. If you are stopping by my channel for the very first time, welcome. Like I said before, my name is Sonia, and on this channel I do DIY, budget-friendly DIYs using mostly materials from dollar store. I do live in Canada, so a lot of the material will come from Dollarama as well as the Dollar Tree. Our Dollar Trees tend not to be as good as the US ones, but we still find some stuff that we can use for sure. And I also want to mention that if you want to see how I use these DIYs in my home decor, make sure you head on over to my home channel, which will be linked down below, where I share home decorating tips and ideas, as well as cleaning. And besides those channels, I also have a cooking channel. So that's exactly how I wanted it to look. I wanted some of that cardboard to show through. So I'm gonna let that dry. And while that's drying, I am going to tape this bag. But first I'm just going to cut off some stuff off of it. And I will definitely be using that for more projects, because I don't like to do too much of wasting, especially when items are pretty hard to come by, like these bags. And it doesn't need to fit perfectly on there, because I'm gonna be taping the other stuff to the other side, covering it up. I'm actually not gonna use the Mod Podge. I'm just gonna go ahead with some hot glue. It should be okay. Shouldn't melt it, but I hope. If it does, then I'll have to move on to my other bag. It's actually pretty good. So that's pretty good. And now I'm going to cover it up with this on top. Decorated in town, among all the tinsel and lights, I'm strolling around, just wondering. There we go. And now I'm going to measure out my little pieces and see where they will go. So I'm going to put this one here. Just gonna mark it off where it needs to be cut. And then I'm going to cut so these two are gonna go on the top. Or on the bottom. Just the next ones are going to be shorter, and I'm just going to sand the edges a little bit. Or clean them up, I should say. Just wondering where you have gone to. Are you just around the corner or in Kathmandu? And whether or not you're with somebody new, still I wish you the merriest Christmas. I hope go. Project, I had picked up a box from Dollarama, and this is a lid, and I am using this little gingerbread man that I had in my stash of just leftover crafts. I'm not quite sure where it came from. I do think it came from a craft kit from Dollarama, but I'm not quite sure of it. You can always buy these at Michael's or even at Dollar Tree, I think, or you can just cut one out yourself out of craft foam. And then I have a cutout, I don't know if you can see right here, I used my Cricut, and this image was from the Cricut Access, and I'm going to transfer it onto here. I don't think I'm going to use the whole image. I think I'm going to leave out the gingerbread and use that for a different project. I am going to be using the transfer tape from Dollar Tree to try it out. I have not tried this method yet. And then I'm going to use some of the white paint to paint everything on, and then some hot glue. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm going to paint the inside of this box with the acrylic paint.
You can trust that to be true. Yeah, I wish you the merriest Christmas.
I'm actually going to use a sponge paint for this one. I think it just does a bit better job for this particular DIY.
I built myself a new life from the ground up. A beautiful wife, 2 kids, and a dog pup. Still sometimes I wonder if you're near or off yonder, though I couldn't tell you why. But wherever.
Just a little crafting tip. If you end up using this and you have lack of space in your decor storage, you can do a different DIY on the back, like for a different season or something, and then you can kind of utilize the other side, which is perfectly fine and usable. Just a little pro tip, because I make a lot of DIYs, and sometimes it gets expensive to buy all the supplies, even if you're buying them from a dollar store, and it also takes up so much space in your house, so it's good to kind of make it a multi-purpose sign. So I'm going to let this dry, and then when it's dry, I'm going to finish it off. Okay, so while that's drying, I am going to get this all sorted out.
Near or far, outside my door or in some airport bar, I still wish you the merriest Christmas. I hope it will be all that you dream. I have nothing but love
So I am going to place it right here.
The merriest Christmas. I hope it will be all that you dream. I have nothing but love for you.
So here it is. And now over here, I'm going to put my little gingerbread man. I'm just going to cut off these little things right there. There we go. Crate, I will be using a stain. You can also use acrylic paint if you don't wish to use the stain. This is the Veritane Ultimate Wood Stain in dark walnut. Then you're gonna need some white paint. I am using these stencils that I picked up last year from Dollar Tree, and I will be using these little stars, kind of makeshift snowflakes a little bit. And then I will be cutting an image out from Cricut, and I will also be using some bottle brush trees. But the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm going to stain this with this stain. It's all on its almost last legs, not much left, but there's still enough for my today's projects. So I'm just going to rub that on. So this does not take very long to dry. I'm just going to go in the little crevices. I'm gonna go try and do that with a brush, but we'll see how that works out, because I do not want it to be too dark. I think that's pretty good. And I'm just using angled brush. And you can always wipe off any extra stain. There we go. Now I'm going to go and cut out my image on my Cricut machine. You can also just stencil something if you don't have a Cricut machine, or put a sticker, or just leave it as is. For the design, I'm using Cricut Design Space, and I just choose a design that suits me. You also want to measure out your crate to know the size of the design that you're gonna cut out, so that way it fits right in. I am using the white shelf liner from Dollar Tree just to give it a try, see how it works out, and I am using my Cricut Maker to cut the design out.
Angels we have heard on high, sweetly singing o'er the plains, and the mountains in reply, echoing their joyous strains. Gloria in excelsis Deo. Gloria in excelsis Deo.
So there you go. And I don't think I'm gonna use the little snowflakes, because I do love it just the way it is, but I'm going to add just a little bit of Mod Podge in case, because of these hollow lines. I'm worried that it's gonna not gonna stick to very well, so I'm just going to, as an extra step, add a layer of Mod Podge on here. Okay, so that's done now. And now for the inside, I have a couple of these bottle brush trees, and I'm just debating which size to use and how to use them. I think this will be perfect. Why I picked up the 3 of these wooden Christmas trees, and I have cut up just some wood from my yard, from my garden to use. And you will also need hot glue for this. So the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm going to stain these. I'm not gonna use the base. And I'm going to use the same stain as I did for the crate.
I've been busy decking the halls. I've been kind to big and small. And now it's time to have a merry holiday. What a feeling when it's...
These won't take long to dry because I'm not putting a heavy coat on them. I'm going for a very rustic farmhouse theme this year, using a lot of natural elements in my house and some of my rooms, and I think this will be a perfect addition to my decor. They're done. And now for these, I was considering doing a little dent in the wood so these little ends would sit better, but I'm worried about not having it straight enough and then my trees not being straight, so I decided just to go ahead with just hot glue. You could also use wood glue if you want it to be more of a permanent thing, but I'm just gonna go with a hot glue for now.
Are coming true, that's why I cheer. I've been busy decking the halls. I've been kind to big and small.
You're gonna have to hold these in place until the hot glue kind of dries.
When it's time for Christmas, let's sing a carol and we'll bring it here. Let's sing a carol and we'll bring it here.
Okay, one last step that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go with a brush and just do a bit of a stain just so it's not so white on here, so light. And I'll go put the stain around the hot glue as well. Just so you know, when you're wiping, you'll wipe off the hot glue, so you might want to go a little bit over it after. This Dollar Tree fabric, a large mason jar lid, just the middle part. These picture frames that have the galvanized metal, some twine or rope. So you will need 3 of these, and then I'm also using the joy letters. Now for these letters, I will be cutting them.
The first for me and you. I longed for this.
But because these are white, galvanized, and galvanized they won't show, I am going to just paint them white with my white acrylic paint. And I'm not gonna be like perfect. I want them to look a little bit messy. So I think that will be good, just like that.
Happier than I have ever been. It's safe to say that my love for you is true. Tomorrow it is.
Now I'm going to trace my lid, but I want to be able to get most of the car in it.
Just us and no one else. I've decorated everything till we're perfect for this week. Tomorrow it is Christmas.
And now I'm going to add Mod Podge on the front and on the bottom and the top.
'Cause all I wanna do is spend this holiday with you. Tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for me and you.
It's not a bad idea to have a specific paintbrush just for Mod Podge. That way you never run into an issue where maybe you didn't wash your paintbrush well enough and then the paint comes off on it. So now, just to clean it up a little bit, I'm going to hot glue this rope to the edge. So that will be my O.
This time last year I was on my own.
And then my J.
Just me and a plastic Christmas tree all alone.
And my Y. This high-end Dollar Tree DIY is so cheap and easy to make. It cost me for both pieces about $2.50, but I only used less than half of the material to create it. And you can find these type of signs on Etsy shop for approximately $60 or so, give or take, depending on the size and what you want on it. So I picked up this canvas, which is the largest canvas that the dollar store sells, and I like using these if you have watched my videos, and I love the frame that's inside of them. This time around I will not be using the canvas, so I take it apart and I will keep the canvas for another project. And if this is your first time stopping by my channel, welcome. My name is Sonia, and on my channel you will find thrift flips, trash to treasures, dollar store DIYs, and furniture makeovers. Then I go ahead and stain this frame with very thin wood stain and dark walnut. And I use a rag to stain it as usual.
Here comes the jolly season again with the sleigh bells and choirs singing. But I hear no church bells ringing out for me.
have also picked up this blackboard from Dollar Tree. It is just a black foam board, and it's great if you're trying to create that blackboard chalkboard look. I traced the frame on top of the blackboard, and the blackboard will be my backing for this frame. Now for the next part, I was thinking about using a Cricut machine, but I thought it might be just easier for me to write it, but you can totally use a stencil or make a stencil on a Cricut machine, or just use the vinyl cutout from the Cricut machine. I'm using this white chalk marker to write my Merry Christmas out, and I'm just using a picture on my phone as a guide for my writing.
It's cold outside, but the fire keeps us warm. We can spend the night underneath the mistletoe, and I've gotten you a present that I put under the tree. Tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for you and me. The snow is falling down and the storm is on its way, but as long as you're around, everything will be okay. 'Cause all I wanna do is spend this holiday with you. Tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for me and you. I longed for this moment to have you for myself in a cabin out in nowhere.
Now when I add the thickness to my letters, I always go to the parts of the letter that go down, and I make those thicker.
It's Christmas, the first for you and me. Another year went by, but the difference this time is that ever since July, I've been happier than I have ever been. It's safe to say that my love for you is true. Tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for me and you. I longed for this moment to have you for myself in a cabin out in nowhere, just us and no one else. I've decorated everything till we're perfect for this week. Tomorrow it is Christmas, the first for you and me.
Last thing that I do is I add some rope to the back so I can hang it up. I'm using hot glue, but you can also use staples. I didn't have good enough staples. I only had strong staples, and I was worried it was gonna split the frame. So make sure you have the correct staples for that.
The wonders of life got the prettiest side for everyone to enjoy. Standing up.
Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it was a bit of a long one, but you could craft along with me. And I just want to wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And this will be my last Christmas DIY video. So until next year, hope you guys have a wonderful day and thank you so much for watching.